In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at working with blue design effects. That's what I refer to them as, and also index color separations. We'll be working in CorelDRAW X6. You can use these techniques in CorelDRAW X7. I do want to touch on the popularity of this blue design effect, and then we'll take a look at how easy it is to create in CorelDRAW. Here in my web browser, I have a rock concert search in Google Images, and we can see a lot of this blue effect going on with the lighting, etc. And even if you look at something like movie posters here, we can see a lot of the same effect in different movie posters, the blue effect. This is a very popular effect, and it's very easy to do. And we really want to be aware of how to do these types of effects and these types of designs working with our graphics applications so that we can design basically what's popular, what's going on in entertainment when we're dealing with an entertainment style design. So to get started here, we'll go ahead and take a look at how we would create this effect. I'll go ahead and select my musician image here with a left click, and I'll just start moving that, holding down my left mouse button and right click one time. You can see the plus symbol appear. That'll duplicate that. Then I'm going to go over here and bring this over to one side, and then we can go ahead and start working with that. The first thing we want to do is make some adjustments to our image. And the first adjustment that I'm going to make is I'm going to go to Effects, Adjust, and Desaturate. And that's going to take the color out of my image. That's different than a grayscale conversion. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to create a boundary for my image. Now this is a button I put in CorelDRAW because I use this tool all the time. If you'd like to customize your CorelDRAW workspace with this button, you simply need to go to Tools, Customization, Commands, come up here to Show All Items, and then you can scroll down through to the B's and you'll find Boundary in the B's, and you can bring that out into your workspace. And I'm just scrolling down here. Right here, just left click, hold down, drag that out into your Corel workspace. Select OK, and then you can just left click, drag that up into your toolbar, and it'll be positioned there. Now see here, I've got the image selected. If I click on Create Boundary, I get a rectangle or curve, a vector object on top of my image. Saves me the time of trying to put it in perfectly myself and allows me to work with just the area that's in the image when I'm creating these effects. The next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and fill this rectangle that I just created with the Create Boundary with an RGB black. And I'll actually bring my RGB color palette out here. I'm going to come over here to my interactive tools and toolbar. I'm going to come down to transparency. I'm going to come over here and just left click, hold down. I'm going to hold down Control to constrain that so it's a straight line. And I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the hard edge going into the smoke that we see around the guitar player here. You can also come through and change this to subtract, and you'll get a little bit of a different effect there than going with normal, and I'll actually go with subtract here. Next thing I'll do with my pick tools, I'll go ahead and copy and paste that. I'm going to go back to my interactive transparency tool, grab my starting point, which is the white box here, left click, hold that, and drag that up here to the top. I'm going to grab the ending point, left click, hold down here, that's the black there, and bring that up. I definitely want to keep the hair there in the effect, or where I'm actually fading out the border. Now holding down Shift and Alt with that selected, I'm going to click again. Now I have two objects selected. Holding down Shift and Alt, I was able to select the top object and the object behind it. I can left click and move that to make sure. I'll hit Control Z. Then I'll go ahead and copy this, paste this back, and then I'm just going to mirror here horizontally and then do the same thing vertically. And we can see what we've got here. So I've gotten rid of these hard edges and I've got kind of a soft edge here, and I'll do some more adjustments with this, actually with the image in Photo Paint, just trying to tweak it a little bit. Now at this point I'll go ahead and click off, and I'll just go ahead and copy that top image there, or that top vector that I had, paste that back in. I'm going to come over here to my transparencies. I'm going to change this to uniform, and I'm going to come down here to overlay, and I'm going to slide this back to 0. Then I'll come over here and click on a blue, and you'll see that effect. Now, since I'm dealing with a dark background, I've got pretty much of a lighter blue here. You can see it's a little bit overpowering. So if I left click, hold down here in the color palette, come down here to a darker blue, you can see how that affects the effect. And I'll come down here to even say a darker blue, like right here. You can also click on different colors and see how different colors are going to look with the effect. You can see that looks pretty cool right there. Green has a lot of color, so it's going to be very strong. It's not very dark. Come down to something like this, and you can see the difference in the effect. You can also go and tweak your transparency here, as you can see if you want to, the amount of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back here to the darker blue right there. Another thing that you can do if you want to, and I'm going to click on the top here and hold down Alt. Now watch down here where I have my object description. I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm going to click through, and eventually I'll get to the actual RGB bitmap, and that's the RGB bitmap that I'm working with. And I can take that and do something like go to Effects, Adjust, and Tone Curve, and make some tweaks on the image. I could make it a little bit darker if I wanted to, or I could lighten it up, as you can see there, or I could bring some of the darker aspects down, leave that here. That'll constrain that. Make sure you're set to straight. Left click and make some of the darker aspects darker, and really dial in or tweak how I want that effect to look based on the image that's in the background by doing image adjustments, working with tools in CorelDRAW. I'll go ahead and select cancel here. Next thing I do with everything selected here, I'll go ahead and make sure I've got everything selected. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate all of this again. Then I'm going to go to bitmaps, convert to bitmap. I'm going to go with 300 dpi RGB, don't need anti-aliasing, don't need transparent background, and select OK and let that process. Once that's finished processing, I'll go ahead and come up here and go to Edit Bitmap and open this up in Corel Photo Paint. And I'm just going to tweak it up a little bit in Photo Paint, get rid of some of the straight edge that's in here. To do that, I'll go to my paintbrush tool. I'm going to go with the custom airbrush, and you can see we've got a tool over here at 100. I could go up here and change this to say 500, hit enter, and I've got a much bigger paint nib to work with. I want to make sure my foreground's set to black, and then I'll just come in and tweak this up a little bit. I'm going to change this transparency here to 75 just so that the painting's not so strong. And you can see I can just go through here tapping and just kind of roughen this up a little bit in some places so it doesn't look so square. Give it more of a, I guess you could say, blended into the t-shirt type of look. We do some of that with the guitar here over in the corner, and just tweak it in and get rid of some of these places where it's still kind of hard edged. I'll come up here in the top and we'll get rid of a lot of what's up here. Now if you want more effect, we can bring this transparency down to say 25, and that'll help us to bring some of this out here, and just tweak this in a little bit and make it look so it's not so squared or hard edged on the actual t-shirt or on the graphic design, as you can see there. Now I could do more, but for the sake of the tutorial I'll go ahead and save this here, and we'll bring that back into CorelDRAW, and we can see our effect and how we've kind of tweaked that in a little bit there. Next thing I do at this point is I'd go ahead and take this image and I bring my text in just to see what it's going to look like, and I'll go ahead and grab that from this graphic over here. Just left click, right click one time to duplicate all that. Bring that over here, and now my text is set up for the design. I'll go ahead and resize this here a little bit, and we'll bring this down here, and we can see we've got a nice blue effect design up. It's going to look really good on a t-shirt. Once I've got my design all set up here, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and set this up for index, color separations, and printing, which will look very nice. Also have a little bit of an artistic look. Now we'll be dealing with a different type of halftoning than perhaps some of us are used to, and that would be your FM halftoning or dithering. We'll be working with just white and blue on a black garment to get this print. Go ahead and take a look at some things here. I'm not going to need all of this other information here, so I'll go ahead and delete all of this. I just want to quickly go over what index printing is and how it works. And we do have a very in-depth tutorial relating to this on YouTube, which is index style color separations in CorelDRAW X6, and I actually did this about a year and a half ago. And if you'd like some more information on the index color separations, you can review this tutorial as well. We're dealing with dithered halftones as opposed to AM halftones. Here we've got dots, and here we've got dither. A little bit different, but it still works very well. Now if we want to get a better look of how these halftones look, or these images look in CorelDRAW, we can go to Tools and go to Options, and we'll come here to Display and Workplace, and we'll set Anti-Alias Bitmaps and Enhance View and select OK, and you can see how that changes that. And you can see how these halftone images of Marilyn Monroe look like the actual grayscale, but they're just simulations using just the color black and white. Once again, if you want more information, go ahead and go through the tutorial, and I'll explain all of that in that tutorial. Go ahead and delete all of this. I'm going to bring my graphic over here to my page, which is already set up at 13 by 19. I'm going to go ahead and center this on the page. And I think at this point I can actually go ahead and crop the image here, because there is some black around the sides I'm not going to need. So go ahead and get my crop tool here, and I'll just come around the outside just to make the image a bit smaller. Make sure that I'm not cutting anything off here. Probably to right about there. And I'll just go ahead and double click that. Go ahead and get this centered on the page, and then I'm going to change my resolution for output for index printing. I'm going to go with 200 DPI for this image, and your DPI is actually going to be the size of your square dots. We can see this is 300 DPI right now. I'm just going to go to bitmaps, and I'm going to come down here to resample. I'm going to change this 300 to 200 and select OK. The next thing I want to do is create a color palette for my palette to 8-bit conversion. To do that, I'm just going to create a rectangle, and I'll just go ahead and fill this with white. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this, duplicate that. I'll fill that with black, and then I'll go ahead and duplicate that one more time, and I'll fill that with my blue, which was down here. Go ahead and select all three of these, and I'm going to come over to my color palette manager up here, second button in, create new palette from selection, and I'm going to go ahead and save that as band and go ahead and overwrite that. Then I'm going to select this image. I'm going to go to bitmap mode, and I'm going to go to paletted 8-bit. Now here I'm going to select my color palette as band. I can go with Jarvis or what have you. Now I can see that blue is a little bit too dark. I might want a lighter blue, but I'll go ahead and take a look at this anyway. Select OK. Now that doesn't look very good the way it's rendered on the screen in Corel, but if I go bitmap mode and change that to RGB, I get a much better preview, and that's much more of what my print is going to look like. Now that blue is a little bit too dark. So I can hit Control Z, go back here, select this blue. I'll come down here to my fill bucket down here in the right hand corner. I'll double click on that, and I'll go ahead and lighten that up a little bit. Select OK. And then I'll go ahead and select these three again, and I'll create another palette. And I'll just overwrite that band and select Save and select Yes. Go ahead, select my image, go to bitmap, go to mode, go here to paletted 8-bit, and we can see we look much better here. I'm going to go down here to band. I don't want that. There we go. And that blue is much closer. I could also use a different type of dithering. I could go with Stuki. And you can see that's a little bit different, but I'll go ahead and go with Jarvis here, and I'll select OK. Now once again, that doesn't look very good, but I'll go to bitmap mode and RGB, and that looks fine. And that's about what your print's going to look like. At this point in time, now that I've converted to the paletted 8-bit, I can very easily do my color separations for my file output directly in CorelDRAW. Next thing I'll do is I'll come up here to Tools, I'll go to Options. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the anti-alias bitmaps in the display, and I'll go ahead and select OK so I can see the actual pixels while I'm working with the color separations. To go ahead and start my color separations, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll delete these three vector objects. I won't need these. I'm going to come down here to page 1, right click and select duplicate page. You can only see about half of that there. I'm going to set this to copy layers and their contents and select OK. And here on this page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and color separate my white. So I'm going to start working with some different tools here in CorelDRAW. Go ahead and minimize this. I'm going to come down here to my bitmap color mask docker, and we'll go ahead and deselect these here. And what I want to do is, and actually if you want to get to this, you can go to Window, Dockers, and come down here to the bitmap color mask, and that'll open that for you. Go ahead and zoom in on the image here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull my white. Now to do that, these are typically set to blacks when you get started, so I'm going to go ahead and reset this here just so that we've got black in there, so you can see how we'd set that up, and same with this white. With this selected, I'm going to go with my eyedropper tool here, making sure that you've got the actual image selected. And I'll come over here and I've got the black selected there. So I'm going to get the blue here. I've got the black here, that's selected. And I'm just going to click on Hide Colors. and then click on apply. Now you can see that all of our color is gone, but the white is still there. So I'm simply going to go to effects, transform, and invert. And there's my white dots. Now I know if I go to view wireframe, I've got this text here. I'm going to want that to be black also. So I'll come over here and I'll just right click and left click to change that to a black. I'll go back to view enhanced. And that's my text there. Now this is my second white, or my white highlight. Now here I've got the untwisted, and there's some more text here at the bottom of that. And I can probably just lasso and select that because I know it's there. Fill that with a black, and we'll make the outline black also. Here I'll go to the untwisted text. I know I'm going to want this to be black, so I'll go ahead and cut that. Go ahead and lasso this. This is all going to be white. So I'll come down here, left click, right click to get rid of that. And I'll go ahead and paste this in. Go back to the black, left click, and right click for the outline. And then I'll come down here and right click and select rename page. And I'll call this my second white, or it would be my highlight white. And that would be my index or paletted 8-bit white color separation. Next I'll go ahead and create my blue color separation. I'll go back to page 1. Go ahead and right click on this. Click on duplicate page. I'm going to carry the layers and their contents. Select OK. Now to select my blue, or do my blue separation, I'll go ahead and zoom in here. And I'm going to go ahead and change this blue that I've got selected here to a white, but I want to make sure I've got the actual image selected, which I do. I've changed that blue to white. Let's do that again, make sure we get a white here. There we go. Now with white and black selected, hide colors, go ahead and click on apply. All I have is my blue. Now with this twisted down here, I'm going to want to make this just white outlines and white fills just to knock those out. Now for the blue separation, I can go ahead and take this image and go to bitmap, mode, and change this to a black and white. Go with line art here, and it's just going to convert that to a black. And that would be my blue separation. So I'll go ahead here and right click and go to rename page, and I'll call this blue, and that will be my blue color separation. And of course we've got the text knocked out as it should be for the color separation. Next thing I'll do is go ahead and create my white underbase. I'll actually go back here to my second white. This is still an RGB bitmap. I don't want to change this to a monochrome bitmap. So I'm going to go bitmap, mode, and we'll go to black and white. We're just going to go with line art and select OK. And that's still set up as my second white. Now what I want to do is I'll go ahead and copy everything that's here in my second white. Copy that. I'll go back to page 1. I'll go in here and I'll go insert page after. I'll go ahead and paste that in. Now that being my second white, that's really a foundation for my white base. I'm going to go here to page 2, and I'm going to go ahead and rename page. I'll call this white base and select OK. Now I'm also going to want a base underneath my blue. So I'll go ahead and just select that monochrome bitmap. I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll go back to my white base. I'll go ahead and paste this in. I'm just going to right click and go order and send this to back of page. I'm going to click on what was or is my second white, and we can see that we've still got a fill color here. I'll go ahead and left click to knock out the background color, and this now would be my white base. So I've got my white base, I've got my blue, and I've also got my second white. And these separations are set up and ready to go based on my original image. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and verify or check these color separations before I print these films out and go to press. To that I'll go ahead and select everything here on my white base. I'll just go ahead and lasso all of this. Hit Control C. I really don't want to do conversions on the actual separations. I'll go back to page 1. Go ahead and insert a page after. I'll go ahead and paste this in. I'm going to go to bitmaps, convert to bitmap. I'll go with 300 dpi, or I could go with actually 200, and I think I will just go with the same resolution. Select OK. I'll take this and I'll go bitmap, mode, and I'll go to black and white, and I'll select OK. Now these don't render very well, but I'll go ahead and take the background color out, change the foreground with a right click, not a left click, to a white. Go ahead and create a boundary around that, fill that with black, and we'll right click on that and we'll go order and select to back of page. And there's my white base. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and get my blue. Go ahead and select everything here. Hit Control C. I'll go back to this page 2. Go ahead and paste that in. Go to bitmaps, convert to bitmap. RGB 200 DPI, that's okay. I'm going to go to bitmap mode, black and white again. Select OK. Left click over here in the X to make the background transparent. Come down here to my blue, right click there. Then we can see the blue there. Brought that in. I want to go to my second white. Go ahead and select everything here. Copy that. Go back to page 2. Go ahead and paste that in. Bitmap, convert to bitmap. Select OK. Go to bitmap mode and black and white again. Select OK. Left click to take out the background color. Right click to change the foreground color. And then we have our white base, our blue, and our white highlight on a black background. I'll go ahead and select everything here. And I'll go to bitmaps, convert to bitmap. This time I'll go with 300 DPI RGB. Select OK, let that process. And we can see or get a preview of what our print will look like. This will look a little bit more realistic if we go to bitmaps, blur, and Gaussian blur. Just give that a 1 pixel blur. And we can see that what we have on page 2 is identical or extremely close to what we have on page 1. So here in this tutorial we're able to create a very nice looking blue entertainment style effect and then go ahead and set up index color separations very easily and quickly in CorelDRAW. I think we've done all of this going through the tutorial in less than 25 minutes. But being able to create these types of looks or these effects and being able to print them as index is just another process we have available with screen printers. And being able to do these things with just a few colors, even if you've got a 4-color press, if you're creative and understand how to work with things like effects and color and different types of separations, you can put out some outstanding graphics and apparel. You just need to know how to do it, and hopefully we've covered some of that in this video tutorial. We'll go ahead and wrap here on our blue color effects and index color separations in CorelDRAW tutorial, and we'll see you in our next video.